Well, good morning, everybody. It's early mornings, LALATE, and King Tut is here to guide you through to the new day. I was just on the denial. No, I was just on the river denial, and I ran into Nancy Pelosi. I asked her for your multiple stimulus check, and she said, denial. Denial. I said, Nancy, we're old stimulus checks for the month of April, month of March, May and June and July and August, September. And you're trying to give us one stimulus check for October? I'm like, what's going on here? She said, what do I look like, a pyramid scheme? I tried to call her mummy, but that didn't work. Must be her pheromones. But the good news is that as the new day starts, they're burying some people deep in some crypts. And come Tuesday night, maybe some more will be added to those tombs. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's early mornings, LALATE. I'm here, you're here, and Cleopatra's, at Walmart getting some extra supplies. So I really do appreciate you for tuning in. The river Nile was, sort of hard to get here this morning, but I really appreciate you for joining me on early mornings, LALATE. Every day at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's part of our 1-hour programming block. And 30 minutes from now will be a second video that will give you more about your second stimulus check, second stimulus package, and enhanced viewing experiences as well. If you've not subscribed, go to the front of this channel, subscribe. You might get a tune out of this. Or maybe get to call someone mummy. And also like this video. If you're new to Early Mornings, LA, you're in store for a lot of excitement besides the hosts appearing in a costume for Halloween. This is an instant premiere, and as a result, you can chat on the right with someone that you might know from 1800 BC. You never know what pharaoh you might run into. You might run into someone who's very ancient, like Mitch McConnell, and they might be over in the live chat. So you can say, "Hi, I remember you from the glacier area, from prehistoric Egypt." And the live super chat is every day as soon as the video premieres. It'll be featured in the next video. So really exciting. I'm so excited you join me. It's going to be a really great day. We have incredible, great news across the board, with the exception of the fact that I was encased in a tomb for 300,000 years. But other than that, I'm back to record for this morning. And then after that, I go back to sleep. So, you get some one time and only. And, needless to say, I'm probably doing more in the 300 years than Nancy Pelosi has done in a week. Or a lifetime, actually. The incredible, interesting news as we get to the new day is the following. Let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that the presidential races across the board are hard to call, and the Senate races are hard to call, and as a result, we may not know election results until on Tuesday night. More indication overnight suggests that it's really just too hard to call anything. And what's important for you to understand as you tune into this video is that your stimulus checks, second stimulus checks, third stimulus checks, and first stimulus checks are all tied to the events of the Senate more than the presidency. A lot of talk has been hitting Wall Street yesterday, the day before, and is expected in the pre-trading hours today as well, about the race for the presidency and your stimulus. But ultimately, that doesn't impact your stimulus. It's what really happens in the Senate. Wall Street's a little jittery as in the pre-market this morning, as Wall Street futures are up about 200 points initially. That's after disappointing earnings on Apple, disappointing earnings on Amazon, or at least not what Wall Street was expecting. And as a result, Wall Street's still jittery about really three subject matters as we start the new day, which are, first, lack of stimulus. Second, ensuing lockdowns that could be coming around the corner and lack of stimulus to get through those lockdowns. And finally, COVID-19 ramping up and big number of cases that could rampage all the economic issues that we've seen. If you did not catch yesterday, there was two big, great details of economic numbers. They were absolutely incredibly great. I mean, just jaw-droppingly wonderful. But Wall Street sat back and said, wait a second, that was when we had stimulus. We don't have stimulus now, so get ready for the numbers to potentially go the other way. Let me give you those two numbers. First, yesterday we started with the new jobless claims number. It was out of the ballpark. It was 700,000. It dropped 40,000. But what was important was it was the lowest unemployment number of new jobless claims. The lowest number of new jobless claims that comes out every Thursday at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time since the pandemic started, which is just insane. I mean, it's an incredible number. Before the pandemic, it was about 200,000. That number dropped to 700,000 yesterday. It shows incredible progress week to week. We're just getting better. But Wall Street sat back and said, wait a second, this is based upon the unemployment situation that was helped by stimulus and helped by business stimulus, individual stimulus, and more from the first stimulus round. And as soon as that wears off, which is essentially doing right now, you're going to see the numbers go back up. The other number that was interesting was the gross national product of the government of the country. It shows how big our economy is, and the number was incredible. It initially dropped as soon as lockdowns were issued, about 30-something%. But yesterday's number not only went up, but went up higher than how we were before the lockdowns were issued. Now, the concern that Wall Street and I have, and you have as well, is the issues of lockdowns. These lockdowns are causing a lot of tensions. And then the reason why is because, one, there's no stimulus package in place. Two, there's no plan for a third stimulus package in place. And three, the presidential candidate who's leading in the polls is the one that would potentially give you lockdowns. Let me explain to you what this means. In the first lockdown, when it hit, you were told you're going on lockdown in March for 3 months. You were told in March, we're going on lockdown, March, April, May. Well, what did Congress do? They rushed to get the stimulus package approved in March as we were approaching 3 months of lockdown. They got it done ahead of time. And that was then. Then after the lockdowns were lifted, you needed stimulus relief to get back on your feet. You didn't get that. That's the second stimulus package. The problem is now we're facing potential new lockdowns across the country. And for those lockdowns, you need stimulus prepared ahead of time before you announce lockdowns. You can't have lockdowns and then have everyone rush and say, oh, let's go write a bill. Let's go argue over a bill for 2 months after everyone's already on a lockdown, and let's send them some stimulus checks 3 months after they've already been locked down in November, December, and January. No, that doesn't work. And so this is why Wall Street's jittery. I'm very jittery because I've seen absolutely not a single congressman even write anything for what could be lockdowns all this winter to next spring. President Trump is now playing into that card, as would be expected. Trump's position is very simple. One, that he's not going to put you on lockdown. Two, he's not going to shut down this economy. And three, he's going to give you stimulus. He says that Biden, on the other hand, is the candidate who will put you on lockdown, but Trump doesn't say that Biden won't give you stimulus. He perhaps should go that extra step, because ultimately, when you look at the Biden ticket, he's based upon Nancy Pelosi's proposal, which is one stimulus check now to cover you from everything you've been dealing with in the past, and no stimulus check as you're facing a new lockdown. It's really quite confusing. Now, what's important to understand is ultimately the president does not announce lockdowns. Lockdowns are announced by governors and locals, city and county officials. But Mark Meadows yesterday pushed the envelope very far. When asked about lockdowns, he said they're not part of our strategy. We're not going to include a lockdown. He told Maria Bartiromo, Then he said the president has been making sure that we're working around the clock for therapeutics and vaccines, and we're well on our way, hopefully within the weeks of deploying vaccines and getting final approval within a couple of different companies. That's what the president's all about. Way we can make sure we can grow our economy, lowering taxes. He has a plan that's going to work to lower taxes for middle income wage earners, and also looking at incentives to bring onshoring back to companies from abroad in the United States. We're going to make sure that America is open for business, made in America, and not only produces the high quality, but also the low cost. At the same time, a national lockdown strategy or national quarantine strategy that is proposed by Biden is not effective and is ultimately will not contain or control the virus. So any suggestion that we're waving the right flag is not keeping with the president. Jared Kushner also said overnight, you have places where they've been a lockdown and it's spread. You have places where they've been open and it's spread. I think ultimately it has to be a balanced approach. What's important to understand when we're talking about your stimulus is that no one in Congress is preparing to give you stimulus for the issue of a lockdown. If a lockdown ensues, are they going to give you stimulus? How much stimulus? No one is actually preparing that for that. And what's important is that when you look at these numbers that came out yesterday, I mean, they were absolutely jaw-droppingly good, but they were when we were out of lockdown. First of all, the third quarter GOP was absolutely incredible. It was consumer spending was up, and the consensus was that we would rebound at a certain percentage rate, and the number came in even higher than what they expected. The GDP number itself was both analyzed and also done on a finite period. Now, as you sit here today, what you will see in Wall Street today is continued concern about that there is no second stimulus, that you need that second stimulus. Second, that there is no third stimulus ready for this ensuing lockdown, and ultimately, how much is given. What's important to understand as you start the new day is that the races across the country are just too hard to call. You know, you have these races in certain states that when you look at them for purposes of the Senate races, you just don't even know where they're going to go. You just don't know where they're even going to go. And then you have Senate races that may not go anywhere on election night. States like Georgia have strange provisions in place. For example, that there has to be a 50% win by the Senate candidate running. And if they don't commandeer that 50% majority, then there's a runoff vote, and that comes in January. Ultimately, what's the reason why I bring this up for your stimulus is that you may not know who's in control of the Senate, and the Senate may, use their current position to push, whatever her name is, off her highway. What's going on is that Mitch McConnell is trying to retain ownership of the Senate. The GOP is trying to retain ownership of the Senate. And if you don't know whether they lost it or won it because the results of Georgia are still outstanding, then ultimately what will happen is that actually helps get the negotiation settlement achieved. It will then push, whatever her name, to realize maybe she didn't win the Senate. Maybe she's going to lose the Senate back to Mitch once again, and that she ultimately has to make concessions. Why? Because a bill has to go from the House to the Senate. It's as simple as that. Things have to eventually change. And with change comes a lot of developments. What you're going to see in Wall Street today, and you're going to see across the country, is the president talking about things like lockdowns and stimulus and how much stimulus. And despite all that, you don't hear much from Joe Biden about stimulus. You heard yesterday the two candidates hit Florida, which both have to win to get to the presidency, 270. And while Biden talked about Castro, and Trump talked about socialized institutions and regulation and big regulation. Trump focused more on the economy, and Biden focused more on human rights and international policies. And ultimately, it showed how two very different messages were delivered, but neither was really on point about what they're going to do for your stimulus. It's important to understand that we remain positive. We're the Purple Power family. And I really appreciate it a great deal for you tuning in to last night's new show on this channel, which is the Street and Stimulus. Street and Stimulus was a big, massive hit, and it filled this time slot where Pelosi versus Mnuchin used to sat. There was a reason why I pulled off Pelosi versus Mnuchin, and it was because a lot of viewers, and including myself, were sort of exhausted and just overwhelmed by the negativity, the false narrative, and this sort of just basic bickering that's been going on between Pelosi and Mnuchin. It wasn't giving us any substantive information about the second stimulus, and so ultimately I yanked it, and I focused on more of what Early Morning to LALATE and Morning to LALATE has been delivering, which is really up-to-date information about where you can be financially sound amidst the pandemic, why Wall Street is pushing for stimulus, why Wall Street wants certain stimulus, and how much stimulus and where could that stimulus come from. More about the numbers and less about the attitude. Let me go over some incredible questions and comments from yesterday's recording. Marie, praying that King Tut signs the executive order. Oh no, sorry, she said King. She said Trump, not Tut. Chili, I love you, King Tut. Oh, well, thank you. And Purple Power Family. Good morning, Adelaide. I love the mask. Yes, well, thank you. Tony Gray, Mitch McConnell leaves millions of Americans vulnerable to the financial ravage. Brenda, good morning, Adelaide. Purple Power Family. Let's have a beautiful day. Well, amen. Brenda, hey, everyone. Good morning for the Halloween capital of the world. Anoka, Minnesota. I did not know that. Michelle Jones, good morning. Do you think the stimulus is going to be more than $1,200? I think it will. Suzanne Elmore, I have all new respect for you, my friend. You just talked several minutes with a totally cumbersome mask without missing a beat. I did. And if you didn't miss yesterday's mask, it sort of goes a little bit out of frame of my eye, so I can't really see what I'm looking at. But I didn't stay in character. Tammy Kennedy, oh my God, dying right now. You're killing me. What a way to wake up in the morning. Love you, Purple Power. Well, thank you. I'm sorry that there is a purple shade in here, but you can't really see it in the frame. Missy Daniel, I absolutely love your humor, brother. It's good for people in these times. Again, LA, you're awesome. Well, thank you, Missy Daniel. Norman Peak, you're so cute in the morning, every morning. Happy Halloween to all of you. I appreciate that. This recording, as you saw, is children friendly, so there was no language that you should be concerned about. So if you want to rebroadcast this for your kids because they cannot Halloween trick or treat this year, you certainly can. Yesterday's video was much the same, even though I think I said the C-R-A-P word one time. But you didn't hear that. If you have any questions or comments in today's video, drop them in the comments below. Coming up next is a continuation of Early Morning to LALATE at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to the front channel, subscribe if you've not. It's a great community, and we're here to get together and get through the finish line together. And I hope you met some fellow pharaohs in the super chat today. Also, like this video. Coming up again is the continuation in about a few minutes. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay in LA for more.